Welcome to the beautiful Pangi Valley in Himachal, part of the Himalayan webinar series. This is the 17th module or 7th regions to which we focus in this series. We're live every day on Zoom at the given URL. Videos are posted on Insta TV, my blog, ultrajourneys.org, and YouTube. Welcome to the Pangi Valley, one of my favorite places in the Himalayas, very less known. Pangi is a sub-district of Chamba, located after the Pir Panjal range, which we highlighted in the previous webinar. Here you can see one of the side valleys of Pangi, Sechu Valley. Beautiful, colorful meadows here, pink colored, as we make our way to one of the lesser known shepherd passes across the Pir Panjal, connecting Sechu and Meyer Valley. Here you can see the three sub-valleys, side valleys from Pangi, Hudan, Sural, Sechu, and then I'll also slightly talk about Meyer Valley, in which I ended up after crossing the Pir Panjal. Meyer, however, is part of Lahore. Here you can see the Mentosa Peak, second highest peak in Lahore, located in Pangi. Beautiful views on the 6,000 plus meter peak. I'll talk about a few passes here, not that many. Pangi is also beautiful to just explore the valleys. We have the Thing Luti Pass, which connects Hudan and Sural valleys. And then we'll talk about two passes, one unsuccessful, one successful, the Pratap Juts connecting Sechu Valley with Meyer Valley. Difficulty is quite high, given the steepness and the terrain. Voila, let's take a look first on Google Earth to get an overall idea. Here again, we're looking at Himachal, right? As we discussed in previous chapters, the initial wall rising up from the foot plains of the Himalayas is the Dolador here, above Dharmasala, Palampur, Bajinat, east to west, and then going a bit north towards the Kulu Valley. So here we basically, after Dolador, we come in the Chamba Valley, after which in last chapter we saw we have this 5,000 meter high range of connected peaks here, which is the Pir Panjal. After the Pir Panjal, we have the Chandrabhaga Valley, or the, basically the Chenab River Valley flowing to Udaipur. Here you have the beautiful Meyer Valley, which will eventually lead to the Kangla and Zanskar. And if we go a little bit west here, west of this section is also considered part as the Pir Panjal. Then we end up in the beautiful Pangi Valley here, Pangi, bordered by the Pir Panjal on the south. Here is the Chenab River Valley. We have Jammu and Kashmir on the left side, Pir Panjal and the Meyer Valley on the northern side, as well as on the eastern side. You have a couple of bigger towns here. One is, let me see, one should be Kilar somewhere here, Kilar, which you end up after you cross the Saj Pass. The town of Saj is located a little bit here at the entrance of the beautiful Sechu Valley. So Sechu is one of the longer valleys in Pangi, in addition to Hudan Valley, which starts from the town of Kilar. And then here we have the Sural Valley. Okay, so let's go back. So here we put all the names in place. So again, we have right Lahore, down Chamba, and left side Jammu and Kashmir, as well as on the top also, surrounded by high ranges on all the sides. Here is a section of the Pir Panjal, and here you have the main Pir Panjal range, which we talked about in the previous chapter. Tindi village in Chenab, in the Chenab River Valley, kind of borders Pangi from Lahore. In each of the valleys, you have a small Tibetan, kind of Buddhist town, you can say, Hudan Batori, Sural Batori, and here Chasak Batori and Sechu Valley. Also the small distant town of Tuan at the end of the Sechu Valley, from where you go into beautiful meadows, where you can find many shepherds grazing the meadows, mostly migrating from Meyer. And then from Meyer, they come actually probably crossing over the Ping Luti Pass coming from Chamba. Voila. Just want to show one beautiful aspect here. So if you take photos, if you enable GPS, you can do beautiful geotagging and locate those photos, showing them along your hiking route on the maps, as I've been doing on my blog in 2018. Beautiful meadows here above Surul Batori, I would say, Surul, while descending from the Thing Luti Pass. So let's first start with the Houdan Valley. Houdan Valley accessible from with bus from Kilar, the main town of Kilar. Beautiful, very lush green, steep rising rocks. All of Pangi has these magnificent rising rocks, steep rock faces, which remind me of the Great Himalayan National Park. Here you have Houdan Batori, just a couple of houses with one small shop, from where directly a trail runs up on the slope, going towards the Thing Luti Pass, which gives access to the neighboring valley of Sural. Along the way, you can see native breeds here, grazing on the slopes. Here is the ridge separating the Sural Valley on top and the Houdan Valley on the south. You have the Thing Luti Pass on this ridge, from where you can climb up quite steeply. It's 4,800 meters, so it's a very steep climb and very long climb from the valley to the next valley. Here you can see the ridge rising up fast above the meadows, indicated, the pass is indicated with big piles of rocks to find your way. Here finally you have the ridge separating both Houdan and Sural valleys. We crossed it over when we got in some heavy rains, so it was like freaking cold combined with wind at 4,800 meters. It was quite a nerve-wracking experience. So once descending from the pass, I think we missed the main trail, so we kind of scrambling down pretty steeply here along some waterfall before finally we got back on a beautiful trail leading to like beautiful meadows here, a lot of flowers. This is typical of Pangi, a lot of these medicinal plants, colorful flowers, all shades of the rainbows in the high meadows above Pangi. And then finally coming into the Sural Valley here, where given the rains, there was some ferocious stream currents in the main stream flowing through the Sural Valley, one of the local ladies carrying farm produce. Here finally you can see the ridge through which we came. The Thing Luti Pass should be up somewhere there, separating Houdan on the other and Sural Valley on this side, seen from the rooftops of Sural Batori, where we got treated. Amazing, heartwarming hospitality. Okay, so then let's take a look in the third valley of Seichu. So there, most of the adventure was waiting for us in 2018 when we tried crossing two passes in this place. So here you have, it's a bigger settlement. You have some more houses, also a little bit more modern, not too primitive, and beautiful farm fields here. Villagers also graze their cattle and their sheep, buffaloes, cows in the two side valleys on the left and the right, where the Houdan, the village of Tuan is located in the confluence. Here you can see the beautiful meadows leading up to the right side valley, basically to the base of the Mentosa peak. So the high ranges there separate this side, Seichu Valley, from Meyer side on the other side, Meyer Valley. Beautiful, like fairy tale to walk through these places. Get some wild streams on the way here while crossing, especially when there are rains. You have to be careful. Even small side streams can be difficult to cross without those makeshift bridges put by the shepherds. Just let's show you the ferocity in a video. Voila, while climbing up then to an unknown pass, we had identified a saddle at an altitude of 5,150 meters on the left side, basically crossing over to the valley of Meyer. Got us to an enormous field of moraines here, quite challenging to walk, but we could kind of see like a very ancient kind of sign of shepherds proceeding along the same way. Even in the moraine, we could see some flowers growing on top of a ridge, probably indicated to the fact that a lot of sheep poop had caused some fertility in this barren landscape. In the back, you can see Mendoza Peak here, indulged in the clouds. Voila, here you have a better clear view of Mendoza, the second highest peak of Lahore, located in Pangi Valley. Beautiful. And then finally, here is the final section to the Pir Panjal range, separating Meyer on the other side and Seichu Valley. Very difficult frozen ice here and loose scree to try to get up there. It's quite a steep slope, a lot of loose rocks. So eventually we were able to make it, reach the top where we got a beautiful view, steep down, glacier hanging below into the, this is one of the side valleys which leads to the main Meyer Valley. However, this being one of the main, I mean, the first kind of glacier type of crossings was a little bit instilling fear first time doing this kind of technical passes. So, and also the drop down to the glacier here seemed like some 20, 30 meters with no proper foothold. So we decided to take a safe call and take a U-turn back home. Voila. So then a couple of weeks later, after crossing some other passes like Kukti, Chobia, and Cheni along the main Pir Panjal range, I decided to give it another shot and came back to Seichu to try some of the passes which would be actively used by the shepherds. Before that, I decided to explore the side valley on the way to Chasak Batori, which goes right from the main town of Seichu. Beautiful harvest here you can see in the month of August in a small village called Darwas, high above in this deeply cut valley. Here you can see Chasak Batori, again a Buddhist kind of settlement at the end of this valley that eventually leads to the beginning of the Meyer Valley. However, the people here told me that the pass here has not been used for 10 plus years. One of the elders of this village people told me that it's now impossible thanks to falling rocks and heavily landslided slopes to have a safe crossing anymore. So I decided to take a U-turn and look for another way into the Meyer Valley. Stayed here in Chasak Batori with some friendly lady, very elder lady you can see, who was inviting me to in her home, seeing me camping outside in the cold, preparing some hot tea and nice food in a pleasantly warm room lit by a burner that burns yak poop. You can see some of these beautiful ancient hand-carved temples that you can find also in this side valley of Seichu. Voila, and then finally getting back to the Tuan side, deeper inside Seichu, again going to the original side valley, the right of Seichu, Tuan village, where I had been stuck 2 weeks earlier. I decided to give it another shot. So synced up with some nice two shepherds here staying. You can see beautiful sunset views on high above the alpine meadows of Seichu Valley. So I had a wonderful night with those two shepherds who showed me the way to a pass called the Pratap Juts, which was supposed to be a crossable section, crossable across the Pir Panjal to the Meyer Valley. I had sumptuous dinner here. They even packed me some nice breakfast in the morning before I took off. Just playing this video to give you a feeling of the ambience in the campsite with these shepherds.
Welcome to the Seichu Valley. I'm here in wonderful company of two shepherds from Chamba, Barmor, who prepared some yummy rotis with aloo mixed with fresh ghee and paneer. We still have a big pile to go there. We're sitting at the base of the Pratap Juts, which will be crossed tomorrow, hopefully successfully, to enter the Meyer Valley.
Voila, so climbing up again pretty steeply onto the Pir Panjal, we came across one huge glacier here hanging below the pass which is located somewhere on top there. Nice, pretty solid glacier, not any big crevices. A couple of these steep moulins cutting deep inside the glacier to release the meltwater on top to the base of the glacier. Here you can see some of these vertical shafts. Very risky to, of course, slip inside, so I had to approach these with care. A lot of water, meltwater, was there towards noon when the sun was high in the month of August, cutting straight through maybe hundreds of meters of thick ice to the base of the glacier. Let me play this video. We are standing on top of the glacier below the Pratap Juts, connecting Sechu Valley to Meyer Valley. We have a big glacier all around us as far as the eye can see. Behind that ridge is Meyer Valley, and below me is a huge crevice in which the glacier water is falling down. Well, here you can see a beautiful panoramic picture of the glacier hanging on that Pangi ridge here. And then on the other side, you can see huge field of moraines of the 25-kilometer long Kangla Glacier, which connects Lahore with Zanskar, here completely covered under vast land of moraine. And here, from here till there, it's like a steep drop down into Meyer Valley. Here another beautiful photo on this Kangla Glacier covered by vast field of moraines. You can see the high ranges of Lahore, that side, which will eventually lead over to Zanskar. Let's look at a small video here from the top of the Pratap Juts.
We are standing on top of the Pratap Juts, finally above the glacier at the Sechu site, and having splendid views on the Meyer Valley on the left below.
How the ice is.
Meyer, and then beyond Meyer is the Zanskar range, far away. Beautiful. A view to a kill. Inside the Meyer Valley we have the Kangla Glacier, which extends very far. Quite a steep drop on this side of the valley.
See the steepness.
So figuring out a way how to get down 700 meters below there. May God have mercy on our soul.
That's a good way. Well, here we can see the topographic profile of this section of the Pangi. The Pratap Juts is located here. And from here you can see it's a steep drop onto the moraines of the Kangla Glacier. I think some 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, some 1,100 meters fairly drop, which you saw in the video there. So here is the cairns, the piles of stones that actually mark the pass for the shepherds. Initially going down here, I was able to follow a small trail used by the shepherds, but then again, Peter van Geit style, I ended up missing the shepherd's pass somehow. And basically ended up again in some free soloing here on a little ridge, climbing between protruding logs, all the way down actually to the meadows below this glacier. Here you can see beautiful mallows, red colored. This is typically a flower which you will see at a very higher altitudes, above 4,200 meters here. Stunning views on the massive Kangla Glacier, imagine 25-kilometer long, one of the longest in Himachal, moving slowly over the decades as the ice keeps melting and the eroding mountains surrounding mountains keep collecting rubble and moraines on top of this melting ice sheet. Here you can then see that big sheet of ice underneath the rocks, the tip of the Kangla Glacier, where you can see all the meltwater boiling, I mean thundering up from the underground. I guess there's so much pressure there that it's pushing up boulders and rocks to flow and to give birth to the Meyer Nella. Let us take a look at the forest in the video.
Heavy water current at the tongue, at the end of the Kangla Glacier. Forceful water current coming out of this long glacier. Tons and tons of moraine.
Voila. And then this is actually the place where I lost my tent, which made me camp in the open on below the Chobia Pass the next day. So here I was actually then looking for a nice night shelter. Here we have these nice rock igloos, which I also found quite a few of them in the Kalihini, Nalam, near Barabangal. Very nice kind of rock igloos used by shepherds, where you can sleep quite warm. It blocks the cold night winds flowing through this valley. You can see a lot of cattle and horses also grazing in the valley behind. On the way down then to the first town of Kanjar, we come across some shepherds grazing the Meyer Valley, beautiful long-haired mountain sheep. And then on the outskirts of even before Kanjar, you can see people cultivating peas here in almost a barren landscape by irrigating again from the side streams, making the barren soil fertile. Finally, then coming deeper inside the Meyer Valley to the main town of Karpat. There you can see a lot of cultivation here, a lot of this cauliflower that gets exported then to the main towns of Himachal and beyond. Voila, this was the beautiful Pangi Valley and partly also Meyer Valley of Lahore. I hope this was interesting. Do explore. You can check this out in biking, running, cycling, as well as hiking across the passes. One of my favorites over many years. See you tomorrow for a beautiful traverse of the Tsarab River Valley.